I like the juxtaposition of like Willow in college versus Buffy in college, and how, you know, in high school Buffy was always the confident one, but in college Willow's actually a bit more confident because she's a bit more in her element, and you especially see that, you know, in the first few episodes.
With Willow, I think this is where she's sort of really peaked so much as a character. Like, she's at her fullest at this point and her most confident, as you said. You can sort of see that in the freshman, the opening head with Buffy, you know, how different they are in very different places. And yeah, once again, I think they get the coming of age stuff so well. Like it is very believable, the separation that they have over the course of the season.
Oh yeah? Well, so's your face.
Then Willow comes along and she's completely in her element. I love her spurty knowledge speech. That's a great speech.
They were shipping Willow and Riley at one point.
It does seem like that at first, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't think that was the intent. I think they were just supposed to be. I think they were just trying to show that Willow is more comfortable than Buffy is. But no, I definitely picked up on some vibes between Willow and Riley. I was like, okay, this is a little odd.
Example of how Willow has grown again, the way she puts things in perspective. Like
that was
the whole poopy head.
Poop head, and she's like, why doesn't he want me? I think we're forgetting the whole poopy head thing. Plus, I absolutely love the scene in Beer Bad where Parker tries the line on her and she's like, what do you think I am, an idiot?
That is the best scene.
That's such a great scene for Willow.
Scene. She leads him up the garden path and then just turns it around on it. Yeah.
Well, it's fun seeing Buffy smack him in the head with the club.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. I like that. I can get on board with that.
But yeah, it's sort of perfect with Willow and Buffy, because in a way you could almost jump back 2 years and the roles might be reversed. It might be Willow who's, you know, sort of the more vulnerable, like hurting over a guy. Because actually it was a bit like that at the start of the show. It seemed like Buffy was the more like kind of together type one.
Yes,
and Willow
more confident.
More, yeah, so it's actually fun to see that reversed a little bit.
Sure, not original, I'll grant you, but it's true, you know? Why waste time being all shy and worrying about some guy and if he's gonna laugh at you? Seize the moment, because tomorrow you might be dead. Oh, that's nice.
I also really like it. Shows how protective of Buffy Willow is, and how protective of Buffy she's always been, you know, that she'll tell Parker off. And I think she's really good to Buffy in the aftermath of Parker. I love Willow turning up as Joan of Arc and being all like, oh, plus she had that close personal relationship with God. And they turn to Oz and like, and who are you? And he's like, God. And it's just so good.
The episode definitely highlights what a great dramatic actress Alison Hannigan can
I know.
Yeah, I get so sad every time I watch that one, because I've raised this before. Like, a lot of times people think of her more for her comedy, and a lot of people would say when it comes to dramatic acting, there's better examples on Buffy, but like episodes like this really prove that she can do the dramatic stuff as well. She really knocks it out of the park, and you can see this is a girl. Her sort of world is like crashing down around her. It's really painful to watch.
Alison is so good, and I think again it gives us a hint for Willow's future development when she goes to cast the revenge spell on Veruca and Oz, again showing her falling back on magic, you know, and instantly going for revenge. These are things we've seen in Willow before that we will see again later on in the series, and I think that is again just another little bit of like really good characterization for Willow, building on the magic arc. Alison Hannigan and Sarah Michelle Gellar are two of like the best criers on TV. Like when they cry, you just your heart just hurts for them, you know. And Alison just sobbing at the end of that episode is just, it's heartbreaking.
The Spike Willow scene is a standout in the initiative. That I think that's a great scene. I think it just shows the side of Willow then, because as the season goes on, she's actually the one who is least aggressive towards Spike. She's the one who's actually more, it's not right to kill it.
I love Giles and Willow arguing over, you know, whether or not it should be right to go after the Native Americans, and Willow's whole, you know, indignation about Thanksgiving as a whole, which, as I understand, is actually quite a thing in America. You know, they're quite divided on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the racial implications. Again, I don't think the episode maybe handles the racial side of things all that well. It's Buffy. It doesn't always tackle those sorts of issues. But, you know, at least it shines a light on it.
The characters debate it, and it at least raises the topic.
I also love Willow being like, so does Cordelia work for you? Because that's going to be... And I love... when Willow and Giles are talking later, and they're like, Angel, I saw him too. And Giles is like, oh, that's not terribly stealthy of him. And Willow's like, yeah, I think he's losing his edge. Something blue first, which obviously Willow still, again, and I think this episode is another great episode for Willow, showing the progress of her magic, and you know, the way she's not quite in control of it. Again, it shows that kind of vengeful side that Willow has, that side that wants to, well, not so much vengeful as like that reckless side of Willow that sees an easy way out and says, I'll take the easy way out rather than working through the pain. And I do love the subversion of, we think he's come to like kill Willow, but he's actually come to offer her a job,
pretty much,
which is fantastic.
That's good, yeah.
How powerful Willow actually is without really knowing her own power, you know. De Hoffren, you know, points out how her spell is like so powerful, and they do have this theme, and we see it a bit in the later seasons, of Willow having this power but not really knowing how to harness and use it. And obviously we see it get out of control in this episode. So I think it's another really good stepping stone, another brick laid in the foundation of Willow's magic arc. And, you know, showing her once again using magic recklessly. Oh, and it has that absolutely fantastic moment with Amy, like as if that wasn't like one of like the most brilliant moments, where Willow's just like, one day she's a normal girl, and poof, there's Amy behind her, and then 2 seconds later, and the next she's a rat. And I just thought it was so great that they brought Elizabeth like back for just that 2-second scene.
Yeah,
just
that's fun.
So much fun. Debut in Willow's little Wicca group that apparently all they do is have bake sales. They're hilarious, those guys.
Yeah, Willow's reaction to that is really funny. Speaking of New Moon Rising, famously, apparently the network didn't want to see them kiss, apparently.
No,
that's why
they were
seen the way. And it works for the scene anyway, but it's just, come on, you know.
It does. But it did give them an interesting way to work the Willow and Tara relationship in, and I do like the way they use the magic. And this is why I don't think, and we're going to return to this in season 6, but this is why I don't think the magic is drugs metaphor works, because we've already used it as a metaphor before. But for Willow and Tara, very much, the magic is their metaphor for their relationship, you know, when they talk about doing spells together, and the spell they cast in Who Are You was actually written to look like their first sex scene. So, you know, it's very, you know, they're glistening and they're panting, and Willow essentially has what looks like an orgasm at the end of it. So I think the fact that they weren't allowed to show them being too physical meant that they had to come up with very creative ways to show the relationship progressing. And I think that became very interesting, but I do think that it's really stupid that we weren't allowed to have them kiss back then. Willow and Tara relationship, I think over season 4, the way it's subtly built up is really gorgeous.
Different phase in Willow's life now, so that's on, because it's like the whole discussion of like, well, is her true partner Oz, is her true partner, but what it shows is that neither one was like not her true partner. It just shows that Oz was the right partner at that phase in her life, and Tara's now the right partner in, that's the way things work. Sometimes with life, you are with someone you love, but circumstances just break you up, and it doesn't mean that this new relationship isn't valid.
View Willow as bisexual or a lesbian?
Bisexual.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just because I think it follows on from her having a straight relationship. So I think there's nothing to suggest she wouldn't be bisexual. Yeah.
People take contention with it because she says gay now later on in the series. She identifies as gay, and anytime someone points that out, I want to say, honeys, we could barely say gay on TV, let alone bisexual. Okay, Willow being with a girl was such a point of contention, as I've just explained, that them trying to say that she was bisexual, there was no way in hell they could ever have said that, all right? So I think the writing of Willow's character really just comes down to the time. And if you guys are interested, let me give myself a little self-plug. I actually have a video on my channel that explores this very topic, whether or not Willow is bisexual or gay, and talking about how really both sides work, because the writing really leaves it up to the point that if you wanted to believe that she was a lesbian and that Oz was just comp het, then you could. But if you want to believe that she's bi, which I personally do, because it's not just Oz that she shows attraction to. She's attracted to Xander. She's attracted to Giles. She even talks about finding Dracula sexy in season 5. So for me, she's definitely bi. But they couldn't say bisexual back then because, like I said, you could barely say gay back then. So falls in love with the people rather than the gender. And, it's not a gay versus bisexual thing for Willow. It's just, I fall in love with who I fall in love with.
The scene where they do the spell, that's a really good scene. And I like how it's contrasted with the sex scene with Riley, how, as we said, the spell is almost like a metaphor of them having an intimate scene.
Yeah, I do really love New Moon Rising because we get the resolution of Oz and Willow, and we get the true start of Willow and Tara, the absolute confirmation that, yes, they are in love. And we also get a nice little angle for Riley in this episode, like you mentioned earlier, because Riley doesn't quite understand, Willow dating Oz, because, again, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. Riley's world has been very black and white. He's a good commando soldier, and he fights the demons, and the demons are bad, and go America, and all that stuff. Whereas in this episode, he kind of has to realize that, no, there are shades of grey. And I actually really like that he goes against the initiative and actually helps to save Oz. That moment where he comes to get Oz, from the initiative, and he's helping him out. I think that's one of my favorite Riley moments, where he has that realization, no, this is not okay. Every single one of the dream sequences just really reveals so much about the characters. I think Willow's is my favorite, because I just really love all the imagery in Willow's, Little Miss Kitty, and, I love the callback at the end when we see her in her season 1 outfit, the softer side of Sears dress, because I think it really shows, as we've been talking, like how Willow is more confident this season and she's, a better version of herself, but it shows that part of her is so terrified of that geeky, shy little doormat that she believes she used to be. And that obviously is a thing that comes up for her in season 5 and particularly season 6. And I think it's a great visual representation to show how she feels there.